Hi, so today I want to talk to you about the core and specifically in relation to a plank. So we could talk about core training for hours on end. There are a multitude of different core exercises you can do, but the seemingly most popular ones are planks and sit-ups. So I want to really specifically talk about those. So today I'm going to talk about planks, and I'll do another video where we focus a bit more on sit-ups as well. So firstly, when we talk about the core, which muscles are we talking about? So your core isn't just your rectus abdominis, the superficial muscles on the front that you might also know as your six-pack. There is a whole core that goes all the way around our body. So we have our rectus abdominis, that six-pack at the front. We have our internal and external obliques that run down the sides of your body. We have the muscles in our back, such as the rectus spinae, that help with extension of our spine. And we also have our transversus abdominis, which runs all the way around, sometimes also called the corset muscle, as it wraps all the way around the middle. It runs in a horizontal fashion and it helps to stabilize our spine. So all of these muscles work together. Depending on which textbooks you're looking in, you might also see the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the psoas major included in the core muscles. So these core muscles help to stabilize our spine. They help to keep our posture nice and erect and help to neutralize our spine so that we have the most efficient type of movement. It also helps us when we're doing our dance movements, which are multiplanal. So this will pick up on again when we talk about sit-ups and why we should train our core in all directions, because when we dance, when we perform, when we're on aerial apparatus, we're not just moving in one plane, we're not just moving backwards and forwards or just side to side, we're moving in multiple planes and we need to stabilize our spine during these movements. So if you've done any training with me, you'll know that I don't often program in static isometric planks. If you're just starting out in your training, yes, absolutely. If you can hold a plank for between 30 to 60 seconds with good form, then I'm more likely to move you on to dynamic movements that are more appropriate to your dance training, to your choreography, to your performance. So that's more applicable, more useful than holding a plank for 5-10 minutes at a time. So firstly, before we start training any more dynamic movements, yes, we want to make sure that you can hold a plank in really good form, stabilize your spine, make sure you're in a straight line from your head to your heels. So to set up for a plank, you want to make sure that your hands are directly below your shoulders, your knees are directly below your hips. Then you want to push away from the floor so you're not sinking into your shoulder girdle. Engage your abdominals, make sure that your back is nice and flat and your gaze is facing down towards the floor. From here, you can hover your knees just above the floor and then step your feet out. So this should be a nice straight line from your head all the way to your heels. So we don't want to see any looking forward and crunching the neck. So no extra curve in the cervical spine. So if you're then looking at your training, what might be more useful is to do things like a bear crawl. So really good functional movement forwards and backwards, helps to stabilize the whole body. It engages our core musculature, but also other muscles of our legs. It helps with our shoulder girdle, especially going backwards. So bear crawls can be a really good functional movement. Again, with a plank, you can do this moving as well. So you can do a walking plank sideways. Things such as an inchworm, where we're walking our hands out and then our feet are following us in. We can also do different variations on a plank where we have to make sure that we return to that really good form in between the movements. So things like a ankle tap plank. So we need to reach up with our pelvis towards the ceiling. We're using our abdominals to lift our pelvis up rather than pushing the floor over with our hands. And we're reaching for our opposite ankle. When we return, we need to make sure that we can go back to that nice straight posture. So this is also our muscle memory to be able to know through our proprioception as well, so our awareness of where we are in space, that we are returning to that nice straight plank and our pelvis isn't sagging down towards the floor when we get there and putting pressure on our back. So if you think about how this relates to dance choreography, if you're doing a technique like release, flying low, things where you have to move in and out of the floor, or you're moving along quite low to the floor, being able to stabilize your core, stabilize your whole trunk in this way is going to make those movements so much easier. It allows your limbs, your arms, your legs to be able to move more freely because you're engaging from the center rather than putting extra pressure through your limbs. So this is going to make moving in and out of the floor much easier. Then also if you're standing upright, it's going to help to stabilize your core when you're moving. So in pirouettes, standing on one leg, doing a développé, a grand battement, anything like that. If you're doing aerial, obviously we know how important the core is to even just get on your apparatus to start with. So being able to invert. So we need to be able to engage not just the superficial muscles, but also the deep ones as well. So this is why it's really important to make sure you train everything. So I will do more videos because there is a lot more to core training, but I really wanted to focus on planks, and it's all well and good if you can plank for 2 minutes or so, but is it really worth as much of your training to be concentrating on getting your plank up to 10 minutes? Or actually, can we diversify our training program a little bit to stabilize our trunk, to use those core stabilizers during other movements that we can then transfer into our performance as well? So I hope you found that useful. If you would like me to have a look at your core training program, do drop me an email or a message and I'll get back to you.